7:10 now. Concerns continue to be expressed both locally and in the UK about the low-value consignment relief agreement. The present situation allows companies in the local fulfilment and mail order industries to sell and export items below the cost of £18 to the UK VAT-free. But this arrangement could be about to change, as we've been telling you in the last few days, taking away a significant financial advantage and incentive for a whole host of businesses based in the Channel Islands. Richard Allen is from the UK-based Retailers Against VAT tax avoidance schemes, one of the strongest voices condemning the so-called VAT loophole.
Politically, the tone has changed in the UK because there's a lot of people complaining about this now. The problem has always been with this issue is that people that complain about it are normally being affected by it. They only have a limited window in which to complain before they get put out of business, and then after they're out of business, there's no point complaining anymore. So this is one of the reasons why I set this up, because when I had to close my business, I was so angry with the reason that I'd had to close it, which was effectively due to the fact that there were people that weren't paying VAT that were operating in the same market that I was operating in. So I resolved to put an end to this, basically, because I just felt it was completely unacceptable, and fortunately I had the time to do it.
Do you expect to see any changes in the budget in March?
I think it's early days for them to make their mind up on it yet, because they have resolved to deal with it. What they're going to do, we're still putting pressure on them. There's a lot of nonsense flying around at the moment as to why this should continue.
What kind of nonsense are you talking about?
Well, things like supermarkets put independent record shops out of business. I mean, that's just utter rubbish. Supermarkets were a problem for independent record shops quite some time ago when they first started stocking music in large quantities. And supermarkets only sell chart albums. Independent record shops have not sold that sort of stuff for a very long time. 30% of music in the UK is on an independent record label. You know, when I've been in an independent record shop, the last thing I'm looking for is an album that's available in Tesco's. So it's just a complete non-issue.
So it's not simply a case of internet outlets out-competing high street retail stores then?
Well, I'll repeat, I was an internet retailer. I know many others in the UK that were internet retailers. There are quite a few members of our group that are internet retailers now, selling all kinds of products. I mean, there isn't just music that's represented by our organisation. We've got gifts, we've got ink cartridges, we've got pet accessories, all kinds of stuff, and they're all selling on the internet, and they're complaining because they have competitors on the internet operating within the UK that aren't charging VAT.
If the threshold is brought from, let's say, £18 maybe down to £10, that's something that could happen in the budget, do you expect to see a real shift in the way that the market works with in favour of online stores and independent retailers in the UK? Do you really think that'll happen?
Hopefully it would have an effect where it would end. I mean, I'm pretty certain it would, because everybody's complaining about it, and if they weren't complaining about it, then why complain if it's not going to have an effect?
There's probably some people listening to this in Guernsey who are employed in the online fulfilment industry. I think it accounts for around 600 jobs here. I mean, if they're listening to this, what would your message be to them?
I lost my job. I had 10 employees that lost their jobs. I don't know what the answer to that is, other than the way that this has been dealt with by both governments is disgusting, to be honest. The fact that the UK has sat back and allowed an industry like this to grow, and the fact that the Channel Islands authorities have actively promoted it, and I know they deny that, but I've seen plenty of documentation to show them actively promoting this, and the whole thing's built on quicksand, because I've got no problems with fair competition. When it comes to competing with each other, you compete on service, you compete on price, but you shouldn't be competing on avoiding a tax. And that's what's happened here. I hope that the Channel Islands government, if this closes down, compensates those that have lost their jobs as a result of an industry that's been built on a tax avoidance arrangement. And certainly, I would hope the government here looks at compensating those that have been put out of business because they've allowed people to undermine VAT.
So what would you hope happens next?
It's a very messy situation, because if they had acted on this early on, there wouldn't be such a huge industry offshore doing this. It wouldn't have developed to that size, but now it's developed to that size. Dealing with it is messy. But I want to see competition return to a level playing field where my competitors are competing with me based upon good old-fashioned principles of service, quality of product and price. I don't want my competitors competing with me because they happen to be in a location that enables them to avoid a tax that I have to pay. I don't regard that as competition.
Richard Allen from the Retailers Against VAT Avoidance Schemes talking to BBC Guernsey's Oliver Farriman there. In a statement made to BBC Guernsey, the Minister of Commerce and Employment, Carla McNulty-Bauer, says, "My department is closely monitoring the situation and are keeping the bulk mailers informed as UK retailers' lobbying is increasing in the run-up to the budget on the 23rd of March. And of course, we'll watch that budget with interest. It's